I can't speak with shorty. I ain't got no other hoes. You ain't got
What up? It's your boy TP Your House here, and I'm coming back with another sports segment. So last week I covered the Pittsburgh Steelers with the huge and upsetting loss to the Patriots and what the Steelers would do in the future after the game. This week I will be covering the Oregon Ducks football team and what occurred with them over the last month. So for the last month, if no one has noticed or heard on any sports channels or anything, Oregon lost their football coach, Willie Taggart, to Florida State. And if anyone didn't know, this was Oregon's third coach in a year. And you don't really see that much in college football. And so I'll start off what happened to lead up to Willie Taggart leaving Oregon. So after Thanksgiving, Oregon played their final regular season game against Oregon State and just demolished them. They won 69-10, and they got revenge on the Bees for last year's upsetting loss, and it just felt really good. It felt like Oregon is finally going back in the right direction. Willie Taggart got Oregon going up, and Oregon's going to be a scary team in the future because Willie Taggart was bringing in a huge recruiting class. Some recruiting pages I saw had them ranked as a #1 recruiting class. And it was awesome to see this because the critics beforehand, that after Mark Helfrich left, said, oh, the reason why he didn't exceed was because of recruiting and how he couldn't recruit and how hard it is to get recruits to come to Eugene. And like everyone was just bashing on, saying Eugene isn't a place and how Oregon's going to fall off the ladder. And then Willie Taggart comes in and he just proves all the haters wrong and shows that you can recruit guys to Oregon. He used Nike University, he used Phil Knight and all that money to get these guys to come over here, show all the facilities and just build friendships. And he was getting all these recruits, which led to Oregon had the #1 recruiting class. It even came to a point in the recruiting class where they had to figure out which recruits they wanted to come in and commit because they didn't have any more room for any more commits. And that's a good situation to be in, and it was looking good. And then a few days after Thanksgiving, with Oregon won and everything was looking good, they had some rumors that Willie Taggart might leave. And that was with the Florida job. And then Mullins takes over the Florida job. And as an Oregon fan, I'm relieved. Like, okay, finally. He wouldn't go back to Florida, where that's where he's from. And it was all relief. But then there's rumors at Florida State, Jimbo Fisher was going to leave to go to Texas A&M. And I personally didn't believe this was going to happen. I thought, why would anyone want to leave Florida State? They're a blue blood college football team. Why would he ever leave? You're in Florida. You have all the best recruits and the best facilities. And I just never thought he would leave. And then a few days after their final game, he announced that he was going to leave to go to Texas A&M. And this kind of worried me because I'm like, oh, this isn't good because Willie Taggart is from the area that Florida State is located at, and he grew up being a Florida State fan, and it was his dream school. And with all these rumors coming about, like all Oregon fans are freaking out on social media thinking he's going to leave. But then if you think like, oh, he's only been here a year. Coaches don't really leave after a year. It wouldn't happen. You know, he just moved his family out here 1 year. They're just getting settled in. He's just getting his football team up, and he wanted to see what he can do. And that's what I thought was going to keep him at Oregon, because he's always raved about how he loved Eugene and Oregon, everyone that works there. And I didn't think he was going to leave. But then I had my suspicions when the rumors started coming about, and he has his first press conference, and everyone's asking him, and he is just dancing around the question. he's saying, like, why wouldn't I be the coach for Oregon for the next bowl game? Like, he was never giving a clear-cut answer on if he was going to be the coach or not. And just how seeing him jumbo around the question just kind of made me worry about, was he actually going to stay? Because now he's actually going to, it just made it seem like he was considering the job. And Florida State, their rich history, I knew they have all the money. They were going to, if it came down to money, he wasn't going to stay in Oregon. But like I said, before what was going to keep him, I thought was going to keep him at Oregon. And then I saw a report on how he talked to the football team and how he basically told them it's his dream school and I'm going to listen to what they have to say and offer. And how some players were crying and all that. And right then and there, I pretty much figured out he wasn't going to stay in Oregon. And it ended up being true. About less than a week after that was announced, reports came about that he accepted a contract to go to Florida State and, again, leave Oregon without a football coach. And do I agree on his decision? I 100% support the reasoning behind him leaving Oregon because it was his dream job and everyone should follow their dream, especially if that's where they always wanted to dream of being at. Like, if I was a football coach and I'm such a big Oregon fan, if I was at, I don't know, like Georgia Tech or something, and if I rose them up and Oregon comes at my door, I'm sorry, I'm just going to go to Oregon because it's my dream school. Like, everyone's got that dream job, and they're always, when they comes knocking on the door, you got to take it. And I 100% agree with his decision on taking that job, as much as I don't. I hate it because as an Oregon fan, you just got to think of it reasonably and logically, and you understand it. The problem I have with what Willie Taggart did was the way he went about the whole decision. He never clearly came out and said, hey, I'm interested in Florida State. You know, they come asking, I'm going to look and listen to what they have to say. No one would bash on you for doing that. Every coach does it. They listen to what other teams and coaching staffs have to offer, and I don't think he would have got the backlash. But the problem is, you danced around the questions, you never gave a clear-cut answer, and then you had your interview with Florida State on a recruiting trip to go see a recruit for Oregon. You used your supplies and resources from Oregon to go meet up with Florida State people. You just can't do that. And then hearing reports on what you told your players and recruits, you basically you lied to them. You told them, why would I leave Eugene, Oregon? I just got here. I want to build something with you guys. And that there just shows you're not a true man doesn't lie. As hard as the truth is, you don't lie to people. Especially recruits who they look up to you. They're about to make decisions that affect their lives, and you're part of that decision making. And I feel really bad for those players from Florida from last year who came in because of his background with Florida and what he does and how he got those players to Oregon. I feel bad for those players because most likely those players probably would not have come to Oregon if it wasn't for him. And now they're in Oregon. Maybe they might be upset because that might be the only reason why he came to Oregon. I saw one recruit on Twitter just tell us how mad he was because he could have went to UCLA right down the street from him, but he believed in what Willie had to say and he went to Oregon for it. And now he doesn't regret his decision, but if you're just being upfront with these people, recruits like that, then they can have a clearer decision making. What you do shouldn't affect what their future. And I just thought it was kind of selfish on how he lied to his players. He says he told them the truth, But clearly, why would players go out and say you lied and didn't tell them the truth? Like, you lied to players, recruits' faces. Like, they wouldn't just say that to make it up. So, I support Willie for what you did, but guess what? Doesn't mean you did it 100% right. Like, you lied to recruits, you lied to your players, and that's something you're always going to have with yourself. And I'm sorry, you preach loyalty, but 3 coaching jobs in 1 year for you, that just doesn't look good. And it just sucks for Oregon fans. We have to go through another coaching search and everything, but oh well. I wish him the best of luck at Florida State, but
3 coaching jobs in 1 year?
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I wish you the best of luck, Willie, but go Oregon. I hope if Oregon ever plays you, they kick the crap out of you guys and can rub in your face. Which now leads to, what the hell? We're in this again. Oregon doesn't have a coach again. Like, what is going on? It was terrible last year, always having to upload Twitter and just keep trying to see, is there any more news? And the candidates, it was hard because all the top candidates were already taken at this time, so there wasn't many to choose from. The big candidate outside of Oregon was Kevin Sumlin, which personally I was worried about because of what he did at Texas A&M. I know under Johnny Manziel he did a good job, but after that he struggled. QBs have been leaving, transferring, just didn't look good on him. And I know you're in the SEC, really tough conference, but he was always going like 8-5 and all that, which isn't bad. But what Oregon wants, what Rob Mullins, the athletic director at Oregon, has proved, wants to show is Oregon is elite. We're not settling for mediocreness, and so just having him, I just didn't think would fit. And the big guy, everyone thought he was going to get the job, and the guy who had a chance but they didn't think was going to be the interim head coach for the bowl game that Oregon had to play. Like, everyone forgot, Oregon made a bowl game after last year and how awful that season was. It was an accomplishment that these players came back and made a bowl game, and they were playing Boise State. This was kind of on the back burner for a while because Oregon needed to figure out who was their new coach, and so it was Mario Cristobal who was interim head coach, and the players raved about him. They wanted him. They made a petition to get him to stay. They sent it to the select director to make him the head coach at Oregon for good, not just for the bowl game, for the rest of the seasons and to come. And it ended up coming that he got the job. He is the coach at Oregon. If anyone doesn't know, he spent the last few seasons at Alabama as offensive line coach, and I think the hire is great. He came from Florida. He played football, college football. He's offensive lineman for Miami. He won a national championship with them, and he knows how to win. He was a first coach at FIU, and if no one knows, they had bowl sanctions. They had a bunch of drama going down there. He basically had to bring that program from the bottom all the way up, and he didn't leave with the best terms with them, but he got them off the ground. And then he became the offensive line coach at Alabama, and this is where his career took off. He became a big recruiter. Like, a bunch of these big names you hear in the NFL and are still at Alabama, they were recruited by him. And everyone, I think it was 2015, he was a recruiter of the year. So this guy can do it. And so him being the coach, I was really excited. We got another great recruiter who knows the players. The players want him. And a lot of people bash saying that, the players shouldn't choose. But guess what? These players, if they want the coach, they're going to go fight for the coach. They're going to work harder for this coach because these players now know, okay, he's our coach. We got to prove everyone that what we said about him isn't just a bunch of hype, that we're going to go out and play for him because we want him as our coach. And so it was a big hire for me personally. I was excited because they didn't get Kevin Sumlin, and just the back ties of what he's had. Any coach really under Nick Saban has flourished. I mean, he's got so many big name coaches that have coached under him. He'll be a good hire. I'm excited for what he's going to offer. And so then there was rumors that Jim Leavitt, the defensive coordinator for Oregon, was going to leave with Willie Taggart to go be the defensive coordinator at Florida State because they thought he was upset because he wasn't in the consideration for head coaching job at Oregon, and he still wants to be a head coach, and they just thought since he used to coach South Florida, he would want to go back to Florida and give him a better chance and more money, of course. And that was the big theory, like, after this bowl game, he's going back to Florida. He's going to Florida State, and it's just going to suck because he took this defense from the bottom. Literally, they were probably one of the worst defenses in the country last year, and he brought them into a top 50 defense. Now, that's just 1 year. That's incredible. Just imagine what 2-3 years with him, what it could be like. And I was worried, especially because of him, because this defense just looked so completely different under him. And I know if he stayed, Oregon would get into I believe will be a top 25 defense. Who would have thought at Oregon, which is known for their flashy uniforms and their offense. So I thought, well, he's gone. This sucks. But at least we have him for the bowl game. Look forward to that. So let's get to the bowl game. Oh my God, like I said, all this drama that goes on, we completely forget about the bowl game that was going down against Boise State, a ranked team from the Mountain West, who I think personally is a very underrated conference. Like, they got a lot of good teams in that conference that a lot of people don't give them amount of credit to them. So Boise State, everyone knows Boise State, the blue turf, and how they just every year are consistent and good. And this, I felt like it was a good competition for Oregon. It wasn't just a bowl game where they're just playing some low competition that they're just going to beat up on. I really felt like this was a good competition for Oregon. And the way Oregon played the last, 2 games with Royce Freeman and Justin Herbert finally back. Thank God Justin Herbert came back. This offense was clicking. Everything was going to work. And Oregon will get back with a win, get to 8 wins, double the amount of wins they had last year. Big momentum going into the offseason to next year. And yeah, the game didn't go as everyone thought it was going to be planned. Oregon came out flat. Their offense was, was terrible. They just couldn't move the ball. I think it was the third quarter, Oregon offense finally got past the 50-yard line into Boise State's territory. You're not going to win with that. Justin Herbert was under, stress the whole game. He was not comfortable. He was being on Justin Herbert, throwing interceptions, making bad reads. It was just awful. And it just didn't help Royce Freeman, who, best running back in Oregon history, didn't play because he sat out because he didn't want to get anything bad happen to him or get hurt or affect his draft stock for the NFL. And I completely support Royce Freeman for what his decision. This bowl meant really nothing. His future in the NFL is way bigger than this bowl game. So I completely support his decision. He owes nothing to Oregon. He did. He went and laid his body on the line every single game he was out there. So, I 100% agree with the decision he made, even though some people think it was selfish of him to do it. But I totally agree with what he's coming from. And plus, Oregon has so many good running backs. They are loaded. Tony Brooks-James, Kenai Benoit, Darren Felix, a freshman. They were loaded. We won a game earlier. They won a game earlier against California just running the ball, and Royce Freeman was hurt. And California had a pretty good defense, so why couldn't they? Everyone just thought they can just do that again to Boise. And it just didn't work like that. Boise State has a very good defense. I think people took it for granted because of the conference they're in, but they were legit. And they came out and just handed to Oregon's offense. And shout out to Oregon's defense. the final score might not have looked good, but you guys kept Oregon in the game because the first drive was terrible, but after that, you just had nothing to deal with. It was 3 and outs by the offense. Get the Oregon defense gets the ball back to the offense, tries, and nothing comes out of it. Hell, even at the end of the first half, the only way Oregon can score is 2 defensive, one was a pickup, fumble, run in for a touchdown. Another one's a pick six, run in for a touchdown. Come on. It was 24-14 at halftime. You're not going to win many games if your defense is the one scoring all your touchdowns. And I was at halftime, I was like, oh, this isn't good. But the second half started off again as a disaster for Oregon. But like I said, the defense kept them in it. But the defense is going to give up touchdowns because when the offense just can't score and they give the ball right back to Boise State, you're just going to lose. And the play calling was just pathetic, I think, for Oregon. A lot of passes behind the line of scrimmage, which I know that's what they do, but we need to get Oregon needs to get a threat down the field. Justin Herbert has an arm. He's got a strong pinpoint accuracy arm for down the field throws. And Oregon just wasn't doing that. They were throwing to the sidelines. Boise State knew this, and they were just loading this line of scrimmage, and everything was being stopped at the line. And it also didn't help. Oregon had no run game. I know Oregon loves to, especially with the big offensive line, they want to show how physical they are, and they win the line of scrimmage. And they did not win the line of scrimmage. They would load the box and just full out send blitzers. And I'm sorry, if it's not working, you need to ditch it. Because guess what? It's just a waste of play. It's 2-1. 2nd and 1. Come on. They pass it behind the line. Now it's 3rd and 3, and now you run. Why are you running the ball? You know you can't do it. I'm sorry. You're trying to prove your point that you're physical, but if it's not working, you got to throw out the window. You got to pass the ball. You got to try it down the field. I know it's not going to work. Throw it down the field. Try to open it up. You got to give the receivers a chance. I know Oregon's receivers were struggling this year. They're young, and it's hard for them to gain the space, but you just got to give them a chance. And I feel like the play calling was bad, but it's his first time as full offensive coordinator. Christian Arroyo, Marcus Arroyo, sorry about that. That was his name. I just think his first game was just not a good thing, but I think he'll learn from it since he will be the new offensive coordinator going into next year for Oregon. I think he'll learn from his mistakes because some of those calls were just not that. They're pretty predictable, and I think he'll learn. But as you didn't know what I was talking about, Oregon ended up losing this game. The final score wasn't as bad as the game looked because I give credit to Oregon. They did fight to the end. There was that one time where if Oregon didn't get a holding penalty in the 4th, they could have scored and been down 2 or 3 points. It was that close. It got to that close. As bad as they played, they were in it to the end. And a lot of people this is not a good start for Mario Cristobal. But guess what? The last time Oregon lost to Boise State was Chip Kelly, and everyone out there knows what had happened after that. I think he was 46-7 at Oregon, got him to a national championship, Rose Bowl win, to a Fiesta Bowl win, one of the best coaches in college football, especially during that span. We all know how that happened. So everyone who's panicking, Oregon fans panicking about this, relax. Guess what? Mario Cristobal, he's a good fit for Oregon. He's going to beef up. He wants physicalness. And I think he's the offensive line coach. He's still going to be that. He's going to build that up. These recruits coming in, their average size is 6'5", over 320 pounds. There's some big boys coming in. And the defensive line is the same way. These big body boys who are going to come in and they're going to just demolish it. And he's making it clear we want a big physical force at the line of scrimmage. Because you win the line of scrimmage, you win the game. And like I said, Oregon he's a great recruiter, and it doesn't look like now because Oregon lost a lot of decommits, but Oregon, it's going to be good in Eugene, trust me. People, like, it's especially with the early recruiting cycle, right, period, it didn't, like, Oregon kept a lot of their main guys. And they're still, like, props to this recruiting class, they're hardly recruiting other guys to try to come to Oregon. You know, I don't see that much, and props to them. And so, I feel like to see how great of a recruiting, how good at recruiting he is, we're going to have to judge by the February time period where he's going to have a more chance to talk to players and get them to come to Oregon. And I think it'll work out. Like, I know they don't have any receivers right now, like, committed, but if you look at who's being offered, and a lot of them are probably going to come to Oregon, like, I think like a 5-star, 4-star, another like high-rated 4-star recruit, another like I think another 5-star or something like that. It's going to be good, Oregon. Trust me. It was rough with everything that happened, especially seeing these top recruits in Oregon, because Oregon isn't known, the state of Oregon isn't known for high recruits, but this year they had big name recruits, and Oregon kept none of them, mostly because Willie Taggart leaving. If he stayed, most likely they would have got probably 2 or 3 of them, but can't do anything about it now. But you'll definitely see, or trust me, Oregon will be a top 15 recruiting class. It's like they're ranked like 13th now, and they lost like 9 commits. Like, this class is good, and they'll just get better. Like, if you're, like, it's been proven with stats, like, if you're a top 10 in recruiting, that you're going to be up there for national championship contenders. It's just how it is. And he's going to keep this class intact and build on it for next year. And the recruiting's going to be good. People worried, don't be, trust me, it's going to be okay. But the biggest recruit out of all of them was keeping Jim Leavitt as a defensive coordinator for Oregon. It was posted about a few days after the Boise State-Oregon loss. Everyone's like, oh, he's done. He ends up signing a big contract with Oregon. I think he's getting paid like he's one of the top assistant paid coaches in the whole college football. It's like, I honestly don't know the exact number, but it's a lot. And that's a big signing for Oregon because, like I said, everywhere he's gone, he has brought terrible defenses when he starts to great defenses when he leaves. And this is a big get for Oregon because these players are about to be juniors. They've had 3 different defensive coordinators. That just is not good. Like, they need consistency, and having him will be consistent. So that's a big get. They kept their defensive line coach, who's I like him. He likes getting these big guys. He likes getting these big Samoan players. And they're very underrated, but they all turn out good. Look at these players at Washington State where he came from, like that Hercules guy. That dude is a stud, and I know he was a big part in getting him. So, trust me, that's a big gift for Oregon. And I know, like, they lost their running back coach and special teams coach, who was also their linebackers coach. They went to follow Willie at Florida State. Who knows? They might lose a few more coaches. But the rumors for a few, like, assistant coaches, like for linebackers, like, I think it might be the UCLA linebackers coach. He's a big-time recruiter, and he has a lot of players that are in the NFL, like Jack for, like, Jaguars. That was a big recruit for him. So, like, and he's a good coach who's open on the market. I think they're going to get him. He's a big go-to guy for them, especially on recruiting, because that's what Oregon's trying to focus on, good coaches who recruit well. I think they're going to get him. I don't really know what other coaches they could get because, like I said, they've only lost 2 coaches so far. I think they keep most of these assistant coaches here, which is good because I like most of them. And that's about it for Oregon. It's from after Thanksgiving to about like the Boise State game, even a little after with the whole Oregon recruiting. It was a big stressful time for Oregon, and people who look at the Boise State game and think this is like it was the wrong hire. If you think of all the stuff those players had to go through in like a week or two, losing their coach, the emotional tie to that, then having to work hard and keep on like their minds on a Boise State team who had no distractions really, and then also have to fight to keep your coach and keep him the head coach, that's a lot. Plus, Royce Freeman, the day before the game, announces he's not going to play, even though the players probably they knew it was going to happen. It's still a big like emotional tie that they had to get around. It was just a bunch of bad timing for these players and the team, and I personally believe it was a distraction on the field, and just now you got a whole another season to come back and prove that was just a fluke. Like I said, last time Oregon lost to Boise State, we all know what led after that, which just great success at Oregon. And I think Oregon is going to be really good next year. They got a lot of players coming back. Everyone you really can think of on defense is basically coming back. And the guys who are leaving, they now have these freshmen who are now going to be sophomores, have a year of experience, back in their place. And that's just on defense. I think they got like 9 out of 11 guys coming back. Offense, you got Justin Herbert coming back as a quarterback. Probably going to be a Heisman candidate and probably a first-round draft pick just with the talent he's got. Coming back. You got Tony Brooks-James coming back as your running back. You're probably going to have more competition behind him, but Oregon's always going to have good running backs and always going to. It's nothing to always worry about at running back. And the receivers was a little questionable, but you saw a few guys like Johnny Johnson III really improved this year. Dylan Mitchell was a stud. That's a go-to target for Herbert. He's good. I do think they need a little more depth at tight end, which I think they're going to do with this recruiting class. And receivers are also going to bring in freshmen who are studs. And I personally believe like you're going to see a lot of freshman receivers next year, and they're going to be major impacts right off the bat. And it's going to be huge for Oregon. Like I said, I don't like comparing them to this team, but because I don't like them, of course. Washington a few years ago, 2 years ago, they were like a team like Oregon. They were kind of like just battling mediocre. They got Chris Peterson, great coach, and he was building them up. And then they had a mediocre season, kind of like Oregon. I think they won like 8-5, 7-6, something like that. It wasn't that good. But then the next year they had a bunch of guys returning, and people were like, this might be the year, or they might be a year early from them contending for a national championship. And it ended up last year they went to the college playoff to play Alabama. They lost. They didn't look good, but they were like people said, a year early. So this year they had a bunch of hype. And I personally believe next year Oregon maybe just another year, then Oregon will be there. I think next year Oregon has a favorable schedule. They could play a lot of big teams at home. Non-conference is a bunch of cupcakes. It's a bunch of teams they should blow out by 40, 50 points every game. And like I said, the schedule favors them, and I feel like Oregon could be a 9-10 win season. I don't think they'll make the college playoff, which is okay. But I do think I see like a 10 game, like they win 10 games, and I personally believe Oregon will be in the right direction. I think the year after Justin Herbert, depending on where his status is, I feel like he's going to come back, and Oregon the year after will probably be contenders, especially in the Pac-12, and definitely for the college playoff championship. And I think everything will be good. I like the direction they're going under Mario Cristobal. He is going to make things physical, and just the way he goes about his job, he is so dedicated and working his butt off. He's going to be a good coach. And I think the way Oregon is, the path Oregon's going in right now is great, and I'm so excited, looking forward to next season. I know we gotta wait a while, but oh well. I'm so excited. But that's about all I have to say about Oregon. I hope now we go to basketball. The team's okay. I'm not going to get into that. Maybe another video. But, I'm excited for that because they're a young team. They can make something. Dan Altman always does a good job. But like I said, that could be another video. But that's all.
What about the Chicago Bulls?
Don't get me started on the Bulls.
Well, are you going to do like a Michael Jordan or...
I could do that.
The good old days? The Chicago Bulls?
Yeah. But, so that's all I have to say about the Oregon Ducks football team. Like I said, Mario Cristobal is the right coach for this team. He'll lead them in the direction of Pac-12 championships and hopefully college football championships. And trust me, don't worry, Oregon. They're good. Oregon's in a good path. Everything works out. Trust me, this is just a little bump in the road for what's future going to be at Oregon. So, I'm TP Your House, and peace.
I ain't got no